on making peace with the unfinished. I watched a woman in the market this morning arranging fruit on her table with such care that you would have thought she was composing a painting. She would never finish, of course. Tomorrow the fruit would be different. The light would fall from another angle, and she would begin again. Yet she was not troubled by this. She was absorbed, entirely present, her hands doing what hands have always done, tending to what is here. I write to you about this because I suspect you are carrying something heavy today, and it is not a burden of action, but of incompleteness. You have lists that grow longer than your days. You have projects half-built, letters half-written, promises to yourself that you have kept only in part. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet voice insists that until everything is finished, you cannot rest, cannot celebrate, cannot call your life good. I want to suggest, with all the tenderness I can gather, that this voice is lying to you. Consider the river. It does not arrive. It is always in the middle of its journey, always between the mountain and the sea, and yet no one stands on its bank and calls it incomplete. The river is fully itself at every point along its course. The same is true of you. You are not a project awaiting completion. You are a life in motion, and the motion itself is the thing. I know what you will say. You will say that there are real obligations, real work that must be done, and you are right. I am not counseling idleness. Idleness has its own particular misery, the restlessness of a body that knows it was made for effort. What I am counseling is something different, the release of the notion that you must finish in order to have mattered. You will not read every book that calls to you from the shelf. You will not master every skill your curiosity reaches toward. You will leave this world with something undone, and that is not a failure of discipline. It is the signature of a life that was interested in more than it could hold. What a beautiful problem to have. There is a peculiar comedy in the way we humans treat our tasks. We act as though completion were a door, and on the other side of it waited some magnificent room where we could finally sit down and be satisfied. But have you noticed what actually happens when you finish something? You feel a brief, luminous relief, and then, almost immediately, you find something else that needs doing. The room behind the door always has another door. This is not a cruel trick. It is the architecture of a mind that is alive and hungry and wonderfully incapable of sitting still for long. You might as well laugh about it. You might as well enjoy the hallway. Think of the garden you tend, or the one you have always meant to plant. A garden is never done. It asks for your attention in every season, and in every season it gives you something different in return. The bare soil of late autumn is not less worthy than the riot of midsummer. Both belong to the garden. Both are the garden. Your life has bare seasons too, times when nothing seems to be blooming, when the work you have done lies underground and invisible. These seasons do not mean you have failed. They mean something is gathering its strength. I want to tell you something that I have found to be remarkably useful. You are allowed to put things down. Not forever, necessarily, but for now. The half-written letter can wait until your words come more easily. The skill you are struggling to learn will not vanish if you step away from it for a week. The great ambition that burns in you will still be there after you have rested, and you may find, as I often have, that rest is where the best ideas quietly assemble themselves. Like guests arriving early to a feast, arranging the table before you even enter the room. There is a kind of greed in the desire to finish everything, and I say this with great affection because I recognize it in myself. It is the greed of someone who loves life so much that they want to consume all of it. But life is not a meal to be finished. It is a conversation that continues, and the most interesting people I have known are the ones who were comfortable with ellipses, with the sentence that trails off and picks up again tomorrow, or next year, or never. They did not need to tie every thread into a knot. They trusted that the weaving itself was enough. You worry, I think, that if you do not finish what you have started, you will have wasted your time. But consider this. Was the walk wasted because you did not reach the horizon? Was the song wasted because it ended? Was the afternoon spent watching light move across a wall wasted because it produced nothing you could hold in your hands? The things that matter most in a human life are almost never finished. Love is not finished. Learning is not finished. The slow, patient work of becoming a decent person is never finished. And thank goodness for that, because what a tedious creature you would be if you had nothing left to learn. I think of bread. There is a moment in the making of bread when the dough is alive under your hands, warm and breathing with its own quiet chemistry, and you know it is not ready yet. You could rush it. You could shape it now and put it in the oven and produce something edible but dense, something that would fill you without delighting you. Or you could wait. You could let it rise in its own time, trust the process that you cannot see, and be rewarded with something that fills the kitchen with a smell so good it borders on the sacred. Your unfinished work is dough that is still rising. Do not rush it out of impatience. Do not mistake patience for failure. Here is what I wish for you today. I wish for you to look at all the open loops of your life, the undone, the half-done, the barely begun, and instead of feeling the weight of obligation, to feel the warmth of possibility. Every unfinished thing is evidence that you are still here, still reaching, still curious enough to begin more than you can end. That is not a flaw. That is the very definition of being alive. So put down the list for a moment. Step outside if you can. Notice how the sky holds everything without straining, how the trees do not apologize for dropping their leaves before growing new ones. You are allowed to be in process. You are allowed to be beautifully, gloriously unfinished. And tomorrow, when you pick up whatever work is waiting for you, pick it up gently. Not because you must complete it in order to be worthy, but because the doing of it is where your life actually lives. The bread is in the kneading. The river is in the flowing. And you, my dear friend, are in the becoming. That is more than enough.